Welcome to this episode of Kennedy Saves the World. I do that with tremendous flourish because today we celebrate the life of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And there's no better person to celebrate that than my most diverse friend, Jimmy Failla.
There you go. I mean, in theory, which is so funny, because I spend so much time driving a cab, I do actually have the most diverse friend base. I would say you too, though, because your parties are Coolio's trunk. Like if you go, you know that old Fantastic Voyage video with Coolio where he opens his trunk and like every type of human being that exists comes out? That is every one of your parties. Like, oh, there's a guy there literally wearing a vest from Lowe's Home Improvements that she met at the checkout lane and just invited him to the show.
He's a great guy.
He doesn't speak English, but we love him. He's fantastic.
No English.
Yes. So I do agree. And in the spirit of Dr. King, that you and I have always championed diversity.
We have.
But just because we had cool people. We didn't do it to do it.
Oh, I would just like to get a table at Sylvia's in Harlem.
It's good soul food.
It really is.
We can talk about it. Yeah, I know
But here's something interesting that you bring this up, because I want to talk about Fox News Saturday Night, because that's a big goddamn deal.
Yeah, Legal wants to talk about Fox News Saturday.
What I realized is, because you know this, you're half Sicilian, when you grow up with ethnic parents and grandparents, everything is soul food.
Yeah.
Like, because I was always like, God, I wish I had grown up in the South. Like, I wish I had grown up eating soul food. And it's like, I did. It was Romanian soul food. It was stuffed cabbage.
Yep.
You know, it's like it was stuff like that. Like
my Polish pierogies.
Yes, everything that was made was to make you feel better. Like food nurturing, and the idea that food cures whatever makes you sad or makes you hurt inside.
Yep.
Food will make that better.
Yeah, food's your friend.
Yeah. So there's soul food in every single culture.
For sure.
And I want to find that.
All right, well, we got to work this out.
Go to places, as long as it doesn't have gluten.
This is how diners, drives, and drive-ins probably started.
Guy Fieri. Yeah.
No, it's a spin-off. We're in a low-budget one.
Gus Fieri was at my birthday. Not Guy. Gus. So, Jim, this weekend was a big deal. How was it? How did you feel?
Oh, no, it was epic. There was an actual childhood dream come true, because I had a 5th grade teacher, I think I've told you this, who was like, you're going to host one of these shows someday. So, stick with it, kid.
Yeah.
And again, it's Levittown. She was probably half in the bag. You know what I leave out of the story? That the next day she told me, you should watch someone drive a steamroller. You could drive one of those someday. She was, it's like
a 50-50 chance.
When they play off Nostradamus, like the guy's technically like 2 for 7 billion predictions.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he predicted it. I'm like, great. You know what else he predicted? That the Loch Ness Monster would become president in 1980 and fart on a dog. And that
president's name was Ronald Reagan. Thank you very much.
So anyway, a childhood prophecy fulfilled. This is interesting. I have a real clarity right now that I've never had, and I think is unique. You've had it as well. Being a television star multiple decades. Okay, if this is something you've always wanted to do and you get to do it, you're on the other side of the paradigm now, kind of looking back at the you that was charging that way. And you really do have a good sense of what matters. Does that make sense? Like the things that matter to us as people don't actually change, in terms of, like, we were talking about food. We love food. We loved food yesterday before the show launched. We love it 2 days after it launches. We might not be able to afford as much if we keep doing shows like the one we just did. It's a little debauched, folks, but I think that's the point of comedy. Is I think for me, how I actually feel, for real, is at peace. Because I know now when I get out of bed tomorrow and the next day, there is a comedy show out there that you could actually tune into with no regard for politics. Like in that opening episode, we didn't mention politics once. Like we talked about the state of late night and then just walked off into the night and did comedy. Remember, comedy, good old fashioned, who cares?
Yeah.
That's what a comedy club was. Remember going to comedy clubs as a kid, how exciting it was? Because like, nobody cares.
Yeah.
Everybody's just completely effing off.
My brothers and I grew up watching stand-up and listening to stand-up records. Because it, like, even if I knew the jokes, it made me so happy. It never occurred to me, like, how do people write these things? I just figured like they were born into this world to make me happy and to make me laugh and to say naughty things that you're not supposed to say, which made all of it so much funnier.
That's great.
But what's sad, and you have been documenting this for a long time, is the people who are entrusted to do that in society have failed us because they only talked about politics on one side, and it created this imbalance.
Yep. Because what happens is late night used to be common culture, where we would put our differences aside and just laugh at the absurdities of the day.
And laugh at Johnny Carson's divorces.
That was like a running joke, though. It was so funny. And because we had that kind of autonomous zone, we were probably a better country because the deal we have now with coexistence is not that we can't do it. It's that we don't get a chance to stop doing it.
Yeah.
Like now we have political disagreements like we always had. But 20 years ago, the political disagreement wasn't staring you in the face when you put on a football game. You know what I mean? It wasn't in a commercial. It wasn't, on every single joke of a Colbert monologue. I blame Colbert more than anybody.
I agree completely because he was only funny when he was pretending to be a
character. Yes.
And that's the only time he was funny.
Yes. And then he came to late night, and what ultimately happened is he was going to probably get canceled because he was tanking as a Letterman replacement. They had a Super Bowl lead into his show that nobody watched because his persona is a little more grating when you realize that is who he is. It's very snarky and, there's a lot of self-righteousness, but it's not comedy. And what ultimately happened is when the Trump fury ensued and all the manufactured hysteria that accompanied it, because the truth is in media, we've always known who Trump was. He's a crass, pugnacious a-hole, okay? And he'd always been bombastic and outspoken and cartoonishly egotistical. And we've always known that to be a character. We never collectively accepted this as Hitler. And do you know how denigrating it is to victims of Hitler or people who's conquered Hitler to say the guy who fired Flavor Flav is comparable to a guy who killed 12 million people? Yeah. But that's where late night screwed us because they leaned into that. And where late night,
only that.
And where thank you. And where late night used to unite the country was in appealing to the good sense among us to say, hey, wait, Hitler? Really?
Yeah.
Wait, so Jimmy Fallon is comparable now. He normalized Hitler, Jimmy Fallon. Yeah. But if Trump was literally Hitler, he had a show on NBC for 15 seasons. Yeah. So that means they were literally Goebbels or something like that. And it's like,
they were Eva Braun.
But they were Eva Braun. And late night used to be able to you'd be like, no, what are you doing?
Yes.
But it was able to subsist that falsehood because by them not calling it out and by us abandoning a common ground on that, it was just advanced as fact. And there's a lot of people out there who have such an emotional reaction to Trump or to politics as a whole because there's no escape valve. That's the problem. So what I'm happy about is we 1,000,000,000% have an escape valve.
Yes.
Yeah. And anybody who watches it, and judging by the first go round, probably wasn't a lot of you. But no, I'm kidding. It's gonna pop. It's gonna work.
No, and what's so exciting is when I first started at MTV, I for a long time was like, they've obviously made a mistake. Like they made a mistake. They made me live at the Paramount Hotel for 3 months. Wow. And so at the end of that, I was like, they're just going to send me back to LA. This is it.
Yeah.
And it kept going.
Yeah.
But I have this it was almost a feling of dread because I didn't have the years like you have cultivated, through a work ethic, just like a constant stream, like a foundation leading up to this, which gives you a greater appreciation. Whereas when I started, it was really because one guy believed in me and convinced some people in power to hire me. And, you have been on this path, working hard, making a case for yourself on every show, every day. So it's got to be so much more satisfying.
It is.
And you must have faith that your key card is going to keep working.
No, I feel really good right now. My only real concern now is looking back like a decade ago, all of those bookies know where to find me now. I had a good run. No one knew where to track me down. Now I'm on a billboard in Times Square. I'm like, this doesn't end good.
That guy at Western Union in Pennsylvania.
This doesn't end good, guys.
No, he's watching Fox News Saturday night. He's like,
hey, wait a minute.
I know that guy.
Hey, wait a minute. We got to get that guy. A lot of bookies out there want your cousin, your Uncle Jimmy. But we're excited. And the one thing that I think would really help the country, because this, you and I.
President Ramaswamy. Absolutely right, Jim.
Amen. But all I was going to say is this election is going to be so ugly. Because they're already doing the Hitler thing. Okay. Yeah. Honestly, I will give Chris Wallace credit on CNN. He actually Monday night, he goes, well, do you think it was a mistake for Biden to be doing the Hitler thing this early in the nominating process? Can you go to Hitler in January? That's a pretty good Chris Wallace, right? It's the only impression I do.
Yeah.
But the point is, they're doing Hitler now.
Yeah.
Okay. You know the adage in comedy, you don't open with your closer? You can't. So if you're opening with Hitler, who are we closing on? Is he Ming the Merciless from Flash Gordon? Like, where are we pivoting to?
No.
What do we make Trump now? That's my question.
I mean, that's what the Democrat focus groups are doing, trying to figure out what's worse than Hitler. And it's Trump, obviously. So Trump will turn into Trump. This
guy is literally Trump. We're like, no, we know that. His name is Trump. His literally Trump, you guys. Big Don. Oh, it's going to be so ugly.
So what happens in Iowa? That's tomorrow.
Yeah, it is. So let's have this conversation.
I mean, are you shocked that you and I aren't there?
Another snub. Democracy 2024. We're on Democracy Point 2024. Yeah, exactly. It's a blood alcohol content. What's going to happen?
Very accurate.
Yeah, thank you. What's going to happen in Iowa? A bunch of people are going to get frostbite on their nuts. You know, it's going to be negative 45 wind chill. I mean, honestly, if you're in Iowa, though, they have to be so thrilled to get TV commercials back. You know what you'd give to watch a terrible Geico ad if you've seen nothing but political ads for 2.5 years?
Or just, going to Golden Corral and not having to fight Chris Christie for buffet space. I mean, he's not there trying to win votes.
But this is, all right, thank you. But this is what I think is so funny about the Iowa caucus, specifically the caucus. It's social media in person. Because you go, I'm voting for so-and-so. And they're like, yeah, right, he's a schmuck. You're a rhino. Vote for so-and-so. And it's what we do on Twitter, but in someone's living room. Yes. It's kind of cool.
I mean, it takes pharmaceutical grade nards to be able to face your neighbors and do that and say those things out loud to each other.
I love
it. Because there's accountability, there are repercussions.
Well, that's why I think Iowa should be first. And I think the Democrats were wrong to reconfigure, obviously, to accommodate, a series of challenges Biden faces in the primary and the fact that, South Carolina is a layup for him.
Why didn't he just smoke some of Hunter's crack? That's what I don't understand. Like, he obviously needs a boost of energy.
Yeah.
So it's like every once in a while, he should just
give a little something.
Why wouldn't you?
All right, here's my prediction. Trump is going to underachieve. That'll be the headline. Mm-hmm. Even if he gets 113% of the vote, the media is going to be like, "Oh,
it's over.
They are peeling off now."
No, that base, they're done with it.
They're eroding.
The indictments are working.
But he actually somehow, Iowa makes a deal where he wins the following caucus as well. And the media's like, couldn't close the deal. Like, no matter what he does, he will be labeled as an underachiever.
Yeah, 2028, God knows where we'll be. Lord only knows where he'll be.
Oh, man. But I'm excited to watch it because as a sports fan, as you know, the old adage in sports that Chris Berman would say is like, so-and-so was a 13-point favorite, but that's why you play the game. You got to play the game. And this Tuesday, we play the game, the 15th, which is so exciting.
16th.
Yes, it is, right? Yeah, sorry.
It's exciting. It's exciting stuff, Joe.
All right, boom.
No, it's been a big week for you. This week's show is going to be even bigger.
Oh,
Fox
it's even
News
bigger.
Saturday night, 10 p.m. Eastern on the Fox News channel. Big Jim Failla.
Bang.
Hit it and quit it, you son bitch.
There it is.
All right, this has been Kennedy Saves the World, along with Jimmy Failla. I'm Kennedy. Listen ad-free with a Fox News Podcast Plus subscription on Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Prime members can listen to this show ad-free on the Amazon Music app. Oh, go ahead and leave me a review while you're there. I'd love to hear what you have to say. You've been listening to Kennedy Saves the World on the Fox News Podcast Network.